Good morning.
You hear that bugle, you know what that means. It's time for another Nudelberg daily huddle. Let's go.
I'm happy to be back in the seat. I did not participate yesterday, obviously, and watching you guys, I was jealous, man. That was a great conversation yesterday.
Yeah, it was a fun conversation. It was kind of came out of nowhere. We just decided to talk about it, and it's good stuff. So my post yesterday got a lot of traction from some former football guys that, like Craig Yarborough, commented on it, and there's a couple other dudes that I'm connected with that were like, player personnel guys or like NFL quality control guys that have gotten out, and they were commenting on the post like, "Preach." Amen. Like, because I understand that most organizations have a lot of meetings and people complain about it. You don't know what it's like in the football world. Your life is one giant meeting. I mean, it's just all it is all day, every day.
So you did a great huddle. You came out of the huddle with momentum right into our first GOTB call.
Wait, before that, I did the Sistel monthly leadership call.
Oh, I didn't even know that. So
I did that at 10 o'clock. Yesterday was action packed. So it came out of that, jumped right into the Sistel leadership call, and then did our GOTB accountability call at 1 o'clock, which was really great because it was a much different.
Talk about accountability. Look who shows up.
Yeah, good to see you. And I actually connected with Andrew's son, I don't know, like 2 months ago. It was towards the end of last year. And we had talked about trying to get down to Miami and grab coffee or something, but we did virtual, and just a really, really good dude. So the younger generation has now connected.
He has the blessing of working with his son. I mean, does it get better than that?
Exactly, correct.
So. But, he says he missed our runs. He was my accountability partner for years.
Sure.
This dude would get fired up about a case he was working on, and we'd be running. It was 10 miles later, man.
I remember when I was like 13 doing the boot camp with you guys, and like Andy was just a racehorse out in the front. Like we used to do that big lap around the park, and like Andy was just gone, like unbelievable.
What a horse. And he played football, so he knows from those kind of meetings and stuff. So it's great to see Ron Katz is here. Ron Katz posted about White Castle yesterday. He is my idol. He was actually in the White Castle in Limbrook that I used to go to all the time. My mom, I made her take me there. It was one of my favorites. So we got a great crowd this morning. I see Stacy Miller is here. Sherry Cedar will take the huddle in the hot seat tomorrow. So excited about
Andy Yaffa would be another great huddler in the hot seat. So like Andy, if you've got time over the next 52 weeks, because we're going to be doing this all year, every Friday, would love to have you in the huddler hot seat.
Oh, he would be amazing.
Yes.
So Andy's great. He's the most humble guy on the planet too.
Yeah, he really is. He's the best.
Awesome stuff. So if you want to get on the list, please reach out. If you're a huddler, we're putting huddlers in the hot seat. It's a great marketing piece for you. I spent the day in Orlando yesterday. And so Tim Rappold, who we had hoped would do it Friday, but he's, in a meeting at this amazing house that they rented in Orlando for their meeting. We're going to have him come back a few weeks later, but I'm coaching him. I'm enjoying working with him. And then he said, look, we got a leadership meeting. Would you come to Orlando? And they really hadn't done anything like this. And so I said, yeah, I would do it. And Shay, show the pictures, because his house was badass. I mean, it was 10 bedrooms. That's me presenting in the living room. And so when I shared the story with Mark, he said, it looks like fun. It was unbelievably fun. It was really cool. And so just an amazing time. And here's the greatest thing about what I do and what you do, Mark. People's expectation of like training or coaching, they think they're getting this, this knucklehead. Like when we were leaving, they were like, dude, that was incredible, man. I have no idea that it was going to be like that. So
that's one of the things, like yesterday on the monthly leadership call with Sistel, it wasn't like, I've been with them for a while now. So now it's more so like, hey, here are some things that we've touched on before. Like I threw up the leadership pyramid, and before I gave them the levels, I asked them to tell me. I said, what's at the foundational level of the leadership pyramid? What's the next? What's the next? And I'm pulling it out of them so that I know that they're learning it, that they're not just sitting there listening and being motivated in the moment or whatever. And so it's an hour call. I'm spending 30 minutes delivering a little bit of content in the beginning. Most of it is follow up from stuff that we've talked about, talking about one of their core leadership principles and how it should apply in their daily behavior, and then spending 30 minutes talking to everybody about how it applies and problem solving with them and talking about putting together action plans. So, it's been a great, and that aspect of it, of making it personal to them and not just me giving them information, but really helping form a plan inside of that time has been a blast.
So great job. Touch on the group accountability call, because we worked hard, and I love the word you use, we tinkered to get it to a place where we knew the previous call wasn't working. We were firing shit at people for 45 minutes. That's not coaching. It's got to be interactive. And so I thought
the difference between teaching and training is the way that I like to think about it. And that's kind of what the difference in the platform is. The platform offers you the ability to be taught. You can go in and watch the videos, and then you can train on them. But once you get taught and once you train, there has to come implementation. And so the accountability call is really holding everybody accountable to implementing the things that we've taught and trained on. So whereas the previous call was 45 minutes of teaching, we now have gotten out of that. And there's Jonathan Aarons talking about it yesterday. It was communal for sure. Like there was everybody. Some people had brought up an issue and I coached them on it. And then you had 4 or 5 other people in the group talking about what they had done and giving. So there is really peer mentorship going on inside of that call as I'm trying to steer it to, here's how you apply our philosophies. Here's what we teach in that. And here's what it could look like for you. So as I said, lots of homework.
Man, listen, getting better is not easy. Otherwise, everybody would do it. So
right.
Thanks for all the support from everybody. I love the kickbacks and the feedback that we got. It was pretty awesome. Shay, we got to wake this thing up. We got two really cool conversations coming up. So stick around. Let's wake this thing up. Wake up, everybody. Awesome. So I get to the house yesterday. Shay and I walk in. The first group of guys and women were there. And one guy, we just start BSing. Where are you from? I asked him, where are you from? Cleveland. I go, I used to do a lot of business in Cleveland. There's a guy I know named John DeJulius. And the guy's Dave says, it's my next door neighbor. So, and then I start talking to somebody else. And the guy was on our call, this guy Lefty, and is on and on about, Laura and her father and mother-in-law and all of this kind of stuff.
Lori Kazneski, right?
But my point here is that nothing happens until you ask questions.
Right.
That's the lever, and this group was fantastic because when we got the question and answer, they were really digging in and saying what if and how this and whatever. So Seth Godin, who I love, I read him every morning, and not everyone is a home run, but let me tell you something. And Casey got it. Look at this. Oh my God, Bob
right.
Like he said to me, he's a bachelor, and I go, oh, really? Like, I didn't realize it was the show Bachelor.
Right. You just thought that they were referencing him as a bachelor.
Right.
Yeah, me too. Sure.
I had no idea. So
That's funny.
this idea of asking questions and doing whatever, Seth posted something, and the question was, what do you do around here? Now, what really struck me there was every company that I ever got introduced to when I was in the phone business, because of my heightened curiosity, I would ask that question. I go, so what do you do around here? What even the CEO, like, what do you do? Tell me what you do, unpack it for me. And then he goes through a bunch of answers, which he said, lots of them are useful, honest, but some of them are bizarre as shit, man. So Roland, you have them in front of you or no?
Hold on, let me pull them up. I can pull them up real quick. But yeah, I think, the ones that he talks about that, aren't helpful are like, I'm just passing through, or I give people a hard time. I'm a bully. I make mountains out of molehills. And I think I don't know that anybody actually says that, but I think it is a good reflection of your own behavior on your team, on your family, on the impact you create around you. Because, I heard somebody say this the other day, negative people have a problem for every solution.
Yes. Exactly.
So like that to me is like what he said about, I make mountains out of molehills, or I give people a hard time. Like, what do you really do? Are you a part of the solution or a part of the problem? Joe Mullings put out a great video from a recent talk that he did yesterday. He put it out yesterday. I don't know when he had done the talk, but it was about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And he's in the staffing space and in the recruiting space. So he's talking about, everybody in the room is not a part of the problem, but they are part of the solution. But you have to choose to be that. You have to choose to actively participate in that. So when somebody asks you, what do you do? Or you reflect on what you really do, you got to be honest with the behavior. And where does it fall into? Does it fall into something like, I do what I'm told, I challenge the status quo, I show up on time, I solve complicated problems, I help people feel seen? Those are some of the things that Seth had referenced as positive answers. You got to know.
Well, I mean, for me, if I ever heard somebody say, I do what I'm told, I'd ask them to leave.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was like, seriously, like, what do you mean? I do what I'm told, and here's the problem. That person who says that thinks that they're being compliant. There's zero innovation in that. I worked with these guys. They're in the financial/insurance space, and their leader owned up to it. He goes, we've been doing the same shit for 50 years. He loved that I was poking holes in it and go, somebody's going to break the mold. To me, the most expensive words are, that's just the way we do it around here. I mean, that's, so, but
yeah, it's like Jay Guitari said, like, there is a place for it. Like, I do what my wife tells me to do. And I do think that, like, in building teams, you're never going to have a full team, a full roster, or a full organization of all-stars. It's not reality. And I think as we talk about the personas of workers, somebody who tells you, I do what I'm told, can still be very valuable to the organization. Yes. You can point them in the right direction. If you can give them the DMOs and say, if you don't deviate from this behavior, you will be successful. And that they're willing to put their head down and just do what they're told. We used to call them glue guys in football. They were the guys that held the team together. They were the guys that fit into slots, and you knew they weren't ever going to be an all-pro. You knew they weren't going to go on to have an NFL career, but you needed them to get you through a season and to help the team be where it needed to be.
So, this idea of questions, there's a lot of them. I think these are questions you can ask the people who are your direct reports. What do you do around here? I had a great conversation with Jerry Latrento yesterday, as I normally do. He is my foil. He makes me think. And I said to him, ask your people to show you their process. Just go up to any of the sales group and say to me, show me what your process. My guess is they can't articulate it. They have no idea. It's just mumble jumble every day. And that identifies a problem that you can affect, or I can help affect. So great stuff, great questions. But if you have a process, all success is rooted in systems and processes. It is foolproof, which is the name of today's motivational music.
I was passing through, no plans of staying on. What would be the chances we got lost in it all? It's too hard to say where you were coming from. You're the living proof life's unpredictable. In a cold, cold world, when it gets too crazy, see through it all. We're foolproof, baby. In a cold, cold world, when it gets too crazy, see through it all. We're foolproof, baby. We're foolproof. We're foolproof, baby. We're foolproof. We're foolproof, baby. In a cold, cold world.
So I got to tell you a story. First of all, it's a great song. Gorgon City, right?
Gorgon City. I was going to ask you if you knew that. They're one of my favorites, by the way.
Yeah,
I got hung up on it, listening to it on the train yesterday. And I'm just in another freaking world. Man.
So one more story about asking questions that happened to me this morning at the gym.
Okay.
So I get to the gym early. I hop on the bike. I'm doing some bike to get loose and get warm before. And there's been a group of 3 guys that are very similar looking that have been there for the week that I've never seen before. They start talking, and I hear that they're here for the week for work. And they're brothers, and one of the brothers bailed this morning, and they talk about working together as brothers. I could have said nothing, right? Absolutely nothing, but relevant to me. I work with my brother. I work in a family business as well. So somebody had asked, they go, so how'd you guys end up working together as brothers? And one of the brothers goes, it's called nepotism. So I died laughing. But so I could have let the conversation go and not engage, but I didn't. I asked. I said, what's the age difference? Oh, we're 6 years apart. So I dive in. I work with my brother. We're 12 years apart. So we start telling stories and having a great time. Wouldn't you know, he asked what we do. I talk about having a training and development company. They just opened a facility in Dallas and are interested in talking to me about creating some of the content for that facility in Dallas. So if I don't ask the question of what's the age difference, I never enter into that opportunity, and I never find that pearl. Doesn't happen.
So I really want to stay on this. And this content that I have for the 6 worker types, we may never get to it. It's one of those pieces of content, Mark, that just floats
to next week.
So first of all, Kathy Hood Slayton, your name is showing up. Thank you. So that makes it easier for us and for everybody to see you. So great job. But this idea of questions, what are the prototypical questions? And here's where I want you to come from, because most people are asking sales related questions. They want to get to something that puts them in the sales arena. And yesterday, these guys could not get over the fact that I said to them, the first one that talks about business loses.
Right.
They're like, what are you talking about? Like I go, listen, with Scott Smith from True Network, who we're going to talk to today, and Lori Koznitsky is from there. When I got introduced to him, we talked about Motown, we talked about basketball, we talked about his career, we talked about a lot of stuff, and it floated to a second coffee. And at that time, he said to me, "Are you ever going to ask me, or talk about business?"
Right.
And no, he said, "Are you ever going to tell me what you do for a living?" And I go, "Not until you ask."
Right.
Because when someone asks, you're answering a question. It's a whole different, but this whole deal of, hi, I'm a gatorpreneur. Can I sell you the greatest thing that's in,
right.
It's insane. It's unbelievable how people have just gotten lazy and they just show up. They don't want to do any of the work. They have no patience. And the questions are what lead you there.
Well, so when you do the homework, right, and you're able to build, for me, I call it a scouting report, or what's the information I can get about this person that I know if the conversation goes dead, I can lead with one of those questions. But for me and the system that we train people on in a virtual coffee is the first question I ask everybody is, give me your story. How did you end up? And I know where you are. So like yesterday or 2 days ago, yesterday I had the coffee with Chelsea Bode from Pearson Kelly Solutions in Missouri. I don't know how you ended up in the copier solutions business. Tell me how you got there. Yeah. And she tells me this story about growing up in an entrepreneurial family and starting her first couple businesses in real estate on the marketing side, but how she had always pictured marketing through a sales lens. And she offered me tons of questions to ask about, oh, really? What was it like growing up with your dad as an entrepreneur? Oh, really? What were the real estate businesses that you were involved in? What were your marketing responsibilities? I didn't do anything but listen to what she was telling me and form the questions off of the information she was giving me. I wasn't waiting for the transition to go, well, have you ever thought about investing in training and development? Or what's your sales process? I was never looking to transition to that. It will happen naturally if you just stay active in asking them questions, because one of two things happens. There's an opportunity for you to share a story that helps them understand what you do, or they just ask you, like Scott Smith asked you, when are you going to tell me what you do? Or so you have those two scenarios that pop up that bring it in naturally, that never make it feel like anybody ever gets pitched.
Well, one of the guys that was here yesterday is their national sales manager, leader, or whatever. And his question to me was, hey, I'm usually in a room with a bunch of strangers when we're presenting at the end, and we're one of 3 people. And I've done some research and I sort of know, but I don't really know. He goes, how do you really jump in and break the ice? And I said, and I was giving them my book. I did not talk about my book, but I said to him, the reason why I came up with it, most people walk in the room and go, hey, how are you? You know, I said, if you're willing to get a little uncomfortable the first couple of times and go, hey, nice to meet you. Tell me something good. You know, and they loved it. They ate it up. I mean, that's so ingrained for me and you and what we started, you know, what I started years ago. It's amazing that all of a sudden, you know, that one question, they loved it. They go, oh my God, I could definitely do that. And they were role playing with each other. And so it's those simple things that you practice, they become part of your process. And now it's instinct.
And so, I think Harry Jones says a lot of people struggle asking for the business when closing, right? Like that to me is then you haven't done anything to develop the relationship. Correct. You don't believe in the value that you're presenting. Like there's so much internal issues that go on with that. Like I deal with that with Weston Jewelers and dealing with their people. They're dealing with big ticket items. You want to talk about like asking somebody if they're okay taking home a $25,000 watch? Like there's some uncomfortableness there, but most of that comes from not the actual price, but the understanding of the value and how well you think you did as an individual, earning that right in order to present the value and move people through a sales solution. So like, I don't believe in closing. It's not closing. I'm not asking for the business. If I've done things properly, we're at the right place that you should feel good saying yes. And I should feel good asking you if you want to say yes.
Well, you know, my comment to them, and we'll close with this today, was that, you know, for me, I spend no time closing. They have a decision to make. Great. I can poke and say, hey, where are you in the decision process? But all of my efforts are in opening relationships, not closing them.
Correct.
And so it's constant pipeline. I don't have any, we talk about control the controllables. I don't know who's going to say yes or when they're going to say yes or why they'll say yes or why they'll say no. That's Adam. If I've done a good job educating you and you like me, we have some relationship there, I'll take my chances. But there's nothing I can do to influence it beyond that point. And that's where people get annoying. It's like, yo, every time you call, it's about trying to lock this thing up. I tell people, I go, listen, I'm going to check out now. Whenever, if ever, love you, see you.
It's like this person who's been cold texting me now for 2 weeks of Mark, I hope you're well. This is Rayhan from Client Accelerators. I checked your Facebook page. Like, you think I'm ever going to do business with that company? Or if you're teaching people those tactics, you really think that that's the most efficient and effective way to get people's attention and get them to say yes to an opportunity? Mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing. Great kickoff to the day. Congratulations on your hard work putting together GOTB. It is really, really a fun conversation to have with people. If you're not sure what it is, reach out to one of us and talk to us. Go to
scan that QR code right there. Scan that QR code, go read about it, ask us a question. That's your opportunity to get involved with the community, push yourself to be 1% better, and get held accountable to that 1% at the end of the month.
Do not miss tomorrow, because Shari Cedar will be the first woman huddler in the hot seat. So should be a fun conversation. She's great. I love working with her. I'm glad she's part of our tribe. So see y'all. Have a great day. And let's get
down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business.